Need a hand? The night was far from over, though. See, Scrooge was still expecting 2 other visitors. Looks like you could use one. The second was big, larger than life. Literally. He dressed colorfully, too. Kinda ridiculous, Scrooge thought. It was the eyes that were the most troubling. Too deep and kind for a man with such an impressive physical presence.
I'm fine. How past your bedtime, aren't you?
From the looks of you, that makes 2 of us. It's too cold to be out in your condition. Nasty cough you got there. I heard you hacking all the way from Metropolis. Looks like pneumonia, or possibly something more serious.
I love the way you talk about that, like you know what it means to have it.
You Kryptonians get sick so often, right? Leave the medical advice to the professionals. Isn't there someone to save somewhere in the world tonight? Yeah, you. Come on, don't be a pain about this. Just let me give you a lift to your car. His hands were large and looked powerful, like they could crush Scrooge's frail body like a walnut shell. There was something familiar, an odd warmth, both from the outside and within the giant of a man.
One condition. I've got a stop to make first.
Once again, the old bugger flew out into the night with what could have been some sort of apparition and wondered if he was going crazy. See, this was all still too much like a dream to Scrooge. If it was a dream, though, then why did the heat he felt emanating from the big, colorful fellow seem so real? Why are we here? Scrooge had never believed in ghosts, spirits, or anything of the like. He never considered himself to be a superstitious guy.
I'm just checking on some bait. Wanted to see if the fish are biting.
Isn't it bad form for a hunter to use parents or children as bait?
Justice comes at a price. This one is going to help me reel in the clown. He works for him.
No. His feet had always been planted firmly on the ground. Superstition was a weakness of other guys, a weakness he couldn't afford.
And sooner or later, his employer is going to come to collect. Just a matter of time, and I'll have him.
Scrooge's mind didn't want to believe any of this. He knew that emotions couldn't be trusted, despite being a bit shaken up by the memory of his past. He didn't want to lose sight of the person he'd become. He'd fought hard to get where he was in life. If the father is involved, he could go to prison or worse. He could.
Then we only decrease the surplus criminal population.
What are you going to do about the boy?
I'm going to scare him. Scare him so badly he doesn't dare ever follow in his father's footsteps.
The present Scrooge was not weak.
I don't think that's the way to go here, Bruce.
Right. But the big, colorful fellow wasn't about to give up. I think there might be a better way. Let's go. I need to show you something. He knew there was still a chance for old Scroogey to see something he might have stopped looking for long ago. Sometimes I realize that spending so much time above the world makes me forget that there are millions of people out there living their lives, decent lives. I look down and see...
You look down on people.
Not in the same way you do. Scrooge scoffed.
This better be something spectacular,
he thought to himself with a sneer. Look at your people. Take a second and look as hard at your lambs as you do your lions. Sometimes I think that helping people, saving people, can be just as easy as showing them your face. The face of someone exactly like them.
Showing them your face is easy when a bullet can bounce off it.
The things the spirits showed him were so real, downright ordinary. These weren't strange visions from the past, but flashes of the present, everyday life. There were even some familiar faces.
Hold up.
Can't thank you and the missus enough for having me over tonight. Appreciate it, sir. Well, I can't have one of my boys freezing his butt off on duty Christmas Eve without a little cheer in his belly to keep him warm. Besides, seems like a quiet night out there, thank the Lord. So far, so good. Although we did get some Batman sightings. I still don't know what to make of that guy. I mean, I know you trust him and all, but
It's not an easy relationship to keep, but there isn't exactly a handbook on how to handle certain elements of our city.
I guess he's a necessary evil.
Oh, make no mistake, he's not evil. No, I would say he walks a fine line. It's just that sometimes he steps on the side of that line where you or I might hesitate to tread. Play on the other side enough, and you tend to lose sight of the line. His vision can be blurry sometimes, but I like to think I'm the prescription he needs to see clearly.
These people that Scrooge knew in his everyday life, these familiar faces, weren't as familiar behind closed doors. Ever wonder what'll happen if he goes too far?
I wonder about that constantly.
Take me to my car. I need to get back to the Batcave.
He always considered himself a pillar of his community, an important man that people respected. It seemed that others didn't necessarily share this opinion. Some still had faith, though, along with the time-honored smile of folks who have the amazing ability to look on the bright side of things. Scrooge, on the other hand, wondered how they always seemed to fill a glass that was constantly empty. How did they manage to keep the faith? The universal hope for change, and change for the better. It had been a long time since Scrooge felt that kind of hope. He had pretty much resigned himself to the fact that life is a never-ending battle with the darkness of the world. It forced him into the shadows, and the only way to combat the monsters was to become one himself. But the second spirit didn't feel the same. He seemed to be a source of infinite hope, and he radiated that hope with every movement and word. His attitude was so foreign to Scrooge. It made him suspicious. Yep, you definitely need to see a doctor. Too bad they don't make body armor for your insides. See, it's like this sometimes when you work in the dirt. It gets tough after a while to clean yourself off. You get used to the filth. You even start to feel comfortable in it. And you wake up one day and you wonder why everyone else thinks you're dirty. Just lots of rest and fluids. In fact, I'd consider calling Alfred to come pick you up. You really shouldn't be
Car's got autopilot.
Good night, Bruce. Feel better. And just like that, the big fellow was gone.